समझ नहीं आ रहा अपने सैलरी इंक्रीमेंट का क्या करूं।
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है, अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स के एसआईपी का टॉप अप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
क्या समझ में नहीं आया?
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है, अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स का एसआईपी टॉप अप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
आप समझा।
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme related documents carefully.
Been broken and hearts have been won as India mourns and grieves the death of a Wing Commander Syal, who lost his life in the line of duty as India's fighter jet Tejas crashed at the Dubai Air Show. His wife is also a serving Air Force officer, and the images of her saluting at her husband's coffin also broke mine and I'm sure your heart as well. Meanwhile, an American top pilot, an F16 pilot, quit the Dubai Air Show in protest. He demanded to know why the air show carried on as if nothing had happened. He said, yes, they say the show must go on, but tomorrow when you and I are in the same situation, God forbid, as Wing Commander Syal, the show will go on too, pointing to, in a sense, what he felt was not enough value placed on the tragic death of Wing Commander Syal. I'm Barkha, you're with the Mojo story. On the program today, we continue to look at the aftermath of the tragic Tejas air crash at the Dubai Air Show, one of the world's biggest aviation exhibitions. The negative G maneuver that Wing Commander Syal was performing with his usual dare and panache ended in flames as the jet went nosedive into flames. It is important to stress here that despite the fact that this is the second accident involving the Tejas in 2 years, before that in 23 years, the Tejas has had an accident-free record. In the meantime, in the finest traditions of the Indian military, the family of Wing Commander Syal have shown extraordinary courage. That's his wife there, also an Indian Air Force officer, saluting her husband goodbye with their 6-year-old daughter holding to her mother for strength. And there is the extraordinary father of Wing Commander Syal, who said he must be strong for the sake of his daughter-in-law, for the sake of his family, and as a military veteran himself. HAL, the makers of Tejas, have said that what has happened in Dubai is an isolated occurrence, that the jet itself should not be questioned. The Tejas program has, of course, faced much debated delays, but the jet itself has an impeccable safety record, notwithstanding these two incidents that have taken place in 2 consecutive years. But in 2024, the pilot was in fact able to eject to safety. The Tejas, in fact, has a 0-0 special ejection seat, and many are now trying to analyze why Wing Commander Syal was unable to eject. Was he, for instance, trying to save lives on the ground? Did he know that something was wrong? There's so much right now we don't know. To try and make sense of it all, I want to introduce our guests on the program today. I want to welcome to the program Air Marshal Kapoor. Welcome, sir, military veteran. Also joining us is General Raj Shukla, military veteran and author. And also joining us is Air Marshal Nanotkar, also a military veteran. We have a very distinguished panel of experts, and I think Dr. Tara Karta should be with us very soon as well. Let me actually start by playing out for you the very moving words of Wing Commander Syal's father in the finest traditions of the Indian military, and extraordinary courage displayed by him despite losing his son. Take a look.
कुछ नहीं जी, मेरा बेटा खोया, देश तक पायलट खोया, बस इतना बड़ा।
सारा देश दुखी है सर।
एक होंदा पायलट खोया देश ने, मैं तो बड़ा बेटा खोया, तो क्षति देश की भी हुई, मेरी भी हुई, पर उसके लिए हम जरूरी है कि मैं अपने आप को संभालूं, आगे इसकी वाइफ ही ऑफिसर है, उनको संभालूं, तो वो भी अपना अपना काम करे और आगे प्रमोशन है।
देश के लिए क्या मैसेज देना चाहेंगे आप?
बच्चे हैं तो जिसका दिल करता उसको होता है अपने आप को होना साबित करे, और ये मौके और ऐसी चीजें बड़े कम बच्चों को मिलता है मौका, तो देश में बच्चे आए और हमको बढ़ाए।
कुछ बताएंगे बचपन से ही इनका व्यक्तित्व कैसा रहा?
इनका ये बड़ा शानदार व्यक्तित्व था। LK से लेके कभी इसने एक थप्पड़ नहीं खाया और कभी निराश नहीं किया। इसने एक भी थप्पड़ नहीं खाया मेरे से और निराश कभी नहीं किया। जिस भी कंपटीशन में गया उसमें अव्वल है। नेशनल टैलेंट रिसर्च स्कॉलर है लड़का, जो स्कॉलरशिप 1000 बच्चों को मिलता पूरा ऑल इंडिया में, उसमें भी इसका नाम था। और एक इसका सर्टिफिकेट है जो गोल्डन होता है, बाकी सब सर्टिफिकेट से ब्लैक एंट्री होती है। एक NTSC है जिसकी राइटिंग गोल्डन अक्षरों से होती है। NTSC नेशनल टैलेंट रिसर्च स्कॉलर।
लास्ट टाइम आपकी कब बात हुई, क्या बात हुई?
कुछ नहीं हुई, वो बोला कि मैंने कहा बेटा शो हो रहा उसकी फोटो बोला यूट्यूब पे आ रहा देख लो, तो यूट्यूब देख लो, ये हाल था बस।
आपने वीडियो कई बार देखा होगा, वो क्या कुछ
नहीं मैं मना कर दिया,
क्या कारण लगे हादसे के?
ये नहीं, तो जो टेक्निकल ये ना, उन्होंने अपनी इंक्वायरी करनी, दुबई गवर्नमेंट अपनी कर रही है, उसके बाद जो होगा देखे, मैं क्या कर सकता हूँ।
So really heartbreaking, extraordinary courage, especially that last bit where he recounts how he told his son, "You're doing this demo, you're at this air show. Why don't you share a photo?" And the son says, "Aap YouTube pe dekh lo." And little would the family know at that point that what they're going to see unfold is this horrific crash that takes place. As I said, the Tejas has been critical to India's both indigenization and modernization. And HAL is saying that this is an isolated occurrence. When we look at the two accidents in 2 consecutive years, it's also important to remember the years before where no such accident took place. Before we come to the Tejas itself, I want to talk about the American F16 pilot who has quit the air show, who's walked out of the air show, saying there has to be a limit to this idea that the show must go on. I'll start with you, Air Marshal Nanotkar and Air Marshal Kapoor. I'll start with you, Air Marshal Nanotkar. What did you think of this? I mean, I found his post very moving. Taylor Heister says, yes, okay, I understand that the show must go on, but tomorrow when one of us dies, they'll say that after we die as well. He felt that the Dubai air show should have been paused or held off or cancelled. He felt very uncomfortable, carrying on. What did you think of this decision? Do you feel that in retrospect, it was a kind of callousness? Air Marshal Nanotkar?
Yeah, Barkha, thank you very much. And, as an operational pilot, we have gone through these kind of situations many a times in life where we have lost a near dear one during in a display or in a, operational mission, on an operational mission. And it is a tradition with us that anything like this happen, the CO leads the squadron to fly. Okay, subsequently. So if you are asking from an operational point of view, it's duty bound that we continue our activities, because this is what is going to happen during operations. You're going to lose some near dear ones, your friends, your colleagues, and
it wasn't an operation, sir.
Yeah. I'm coming to that. I'm coming to that. So if it was an operational mission, what the show must go on is the correct way to go about it. But this is a commercial show, and it is up to the showmakers to take a call. But yes, what US pilot has done is very courageous under the circumstances that you have had such a tragedy during the show, and on the other side you are continuing with your routine activities of the show. And mind you, I think this was towards the culmination of the show, so I think they could have taken a call and stopped the show. I think that would have been the right decision on part of the organization to say that okay, this is the end of the show, and let's carry on here on, because I think the commercial aspect of the requirements were already gone through, and this was coming towards the end of the show. So I think what he did was very, very, very apt and courageous as far as under the circumstances.
Marshal Kapoor, do you agree? I do understand the principle in war, in operations, in battle, of the show must go on. But should it apply to aviation exhibitions? Should it apply to demos? There are now questions being asked, and I've spoken to some very top pilots offline who even say that they feel that the skills of pilots are wasted on aerobatics. I don't know if you think that that you're testing the machine beyond what it's meant for. The machine is not even used for that in actual battle. So are these, highly skilled though they are they necessary, or are they a waste of skill? Marshal Kapoor.
The air display has gone a change in the last few years and few decades. Earlier, it exhibited the capability of the aeroplane when the combat used to take place, and it showed to the people that in case of an actual aircraft to aircraft
I
combat.
request you to come closer and speak louder, sir. I can't hear you. Start again.
Can you hear me now?
It's better, sir. Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. Earlier, these kind of maneuvers were done to showcase the potential of the aeroplane, but it has become a tradition herein wherein all the air shows have this kind of a display at the end, going wherein the aircraft and the pilots are taken to the extremes. Now, coming specifically to your question that had the incident happened, should the air show continue or not? There have been mixed opinion on the social media on that. In my personal opinion, the exhibitors should have called off the air show. Reason, because it is a tragic loss. The military might of the country is directly proportional to your economic and other might. The aeroplanes, hypothetically, if produced by any other country, if it had to be sold, it will not generate that kind of an interest. But with India's stature rising after Op Sindoor, the world is now looking up to Indian platforms. Tejas was a showstopper till a day before this accident, and the organizers had proper responsibility in telling and giving respect to this whole program to say that hereafter we stop the and let the area be cordoned off, investigations continue, and as a mark of respect, the Russians also paid tribute. So if Russians and Americans are paying tribute to Indian pilots and this loss, it indicates our stature. That is what I was about to say.
The Russians, of course, offered a beautiful tribute, and we'll show that to you in just a moment. Let me bring in General Raj Shukla, sir. What do you think? Marshal Kapoor is very categorical that the show should have been called off. Marshal Nanotkar believes that yes, a distinction has to be drawn between commerce and battle. Ops are not air shows. What do you say?
I'm also a combat aviator, though of the rotary wing kind. I'm not as glamorous as Marshal Kapoor or Marshal Nandotkar.
No, sir, you're very glamorous. You're very glamorous.
But in the aviation hierarchy, they look down upon rotary wing pilots. I must acknowledge that. But the point, it's a very serious issue. I would put it this way. I would say that the ethos and spirit will always override the platform. The ethos and the spirit will always override commerce. I mean, look at the grace of Wing Commander Syal's father. I mean, it's moving beyond measure. Look at his composure. Tears come to my eyes when I watch this, and he was so composed. Look at the way he recalled his son's brilliance. I mean, let me acknowledge this, that I think the most challenging profession on earth is that of a fighter pilot. You have to have brain, brawn, reflexes, judgment, all coming together. So yesterday I had tweeted, that the fighter pilot is like a knight at King Arthur's round table. As valuable as that. He's precious and precautious beyond measure. Precious, and he's also, the fighter pilots are some of the most brilliant minds. I mean, one's known so many of them. And therefore, this is a very challenging profession. It is not for the faint-hearted. Now, the point in aerobatics and all that is this, that the pilot pushes himself and the machine to the extreme. So in the very nature of aerobatics and so on and so forth, there is a risk quotient. I mean, there's a whole aviation adage which says there are old pilots and there are bold pilots, but there are no old and bold pilots. What is it saying? It's not saying that you don't be bold. It is cautioning pilots that when you decide to be bold, when you push the envelope, you have to have very extraordinary skills. Now, sometimes things will go wrong, but I think the ethos and the spirit must not, shall I say, be lowered at the cost of platforms. This ethos and spirit has to be sustained. Otherwise, how will you produce the Air Commodore Meher Babas and all that who've done valiant things?
So you're saying by definition.
Just
Yeah.
one point
No, I want to
on
clarify what
this.
you're saying. I'm not cutting you short. I want to
Yeah, but
understand what you're saying. I want to ask you, when you say the ethos will always override the platform, and by definition there is inherent risk. These
yes,
are this is a job for the high riskers. But
absolutely.
but many people are asking, should the bold and the young pilots highly specialized skills be used for aviation demonstration?
It's how you perfect yourself. Today it is about standoff targeting, but are we saying they're never going to be dogfights? That's how you perfect yourself. You push yourself to the limits. Let me give you one more example. This is the week of Razangla. 18th November was Razangla. Now, I watched this movie 120 Bahadur where Major Shaitan Singh tells his people, देखो ये भारत माँ की धरती है, इसको हम नहीं छोड़ेंगे. Now, this is all in the age when we are being told that territorial objectives don't matter, but they are so sacred. And now look at the bond. He says, अगर आपने पीठ की, तो मैं आपको गोली से मार दूंगा. और अगर मैंने पीठ की, तो आप मेरे को गोली से भून देना. Now, how do you justify this in any prudent way? But this is leadership. Now, this is the military ethos, Army, Navy, Air Force, which cannot be, shall I say, juxtaposed in these modern ways of rationalizing things. This ethos and spirit has been generated over years. So, on this score, I will differ with M. Ashul Kapoor. The ethos and the spirit is always, shall we say, they should be prioritized more than platforms and all. Now, this doesn't mean that every time you go and crash, nobody is saying that. So all kinds of precautions are taken. Those of us have been trained in aviation. I mean, the limits that people go for safety, safety, safety. But yet such things will happen because you push the machine to the limits. You push the pilot to the limits. So I'm all for ethos and the spirit. But, and in a second intervention, I make this point that we have to do a great deal to enable the fighter pilot. And in that case, you must look at our aviation paradigm. There are a lot of deficits which need to be set right. In a subsequent intervention, I would like to say.
We'll absolutely come to all of that. I'm very much hoping that Dr. Karta can hear me. I know both Air Force officers want to respond to what General Shukla is saying, who's essentially saying that, look, the ethos or the driving sort of passion of being a fighter jet pilot is that you push yourself and the machine to the very edge of imagination, as it were. But Dr. Karta, we were talking about the American F16 pilot, also a fighter jet pilot, who walked out. He walked out of the Dubai Air Show in protest, and he said this is not on. He said the show should have been called off. Opinion on this panel is divided. What do you think?
It should have been cancelled. There's no two ways on that. There is a limit to how much commerce can go. And there are many precedents to this. In fact, a very similar crash occurred when this guy, he was called a Top Gun. He was Top Gun rating. He went, he kind of crashed. And this was, I think, in New Mexico with an aircraft, which is an aerobatic aircraft. He crashed. The show was cancelled then and there. So there is a lack of. Number two, what I want to say is, see, it is true what General Raj Shukla says, that pilots, my husband was a test pilot. I've seen the test pilot culture. They push the aircraft to its absolute limits. That's their job. But the trouble is, you also have to know, this I've heard pilots saying all the time. You have to know the limits of the aircraft and your limits. And that is a very difficult thing. It's easy for us to sit here and say it. But it's very difficult at that point of time to say, okay, I've reached this limit and I'm done. That is where experience comes in. But in this case, Barkha, it's tragic what happened. Here is this ace pilot. And this is what, I like seeing that father. It is terrible. I've seen crashes. I've seen test pilots go down. And I had to break it to a widow. She didn't know. And it's a horrible thing to happen. So, shorn of the romance and everything, this is a hard life. So that's just what I wanted to say.
Yeah, absolutely. And the father and the wife saluting, the wife in uniform, holding her daughter. If we could please show those images, the 6-year-old daughter holding on to her mother. These images. I don't know. There is something in our military, and really salutes to the three officers here. The stoic courage, the poise of this moment. I don't know. It's extraordinary. General Shukla, you wanted to come in? I think I see your hand go up. Yes, General Shukla.
To raise it with all three, the two air marshals and Tara. See, I recall when I was posted in 659 Aeropeace Squadron in Bagdogra on a certain training sortie to East Sikkim, we lost a pilot. We had a crash, one person died, and I remember the other person's name is General Narban. He suffered a very severe injury. The very next day, my instructors, or three instructors, took three of us and made us land at the same place to reinforce confidence. Now, why is it done? I could sense it because there is a certain gloom which comes over the squadron. But next morning, when you do the sortie and come back, your confidence is restored, and you were taken to the same helipad where the error was made. So, I mean, I come from that kind of
So
experience.
you're
I don't
saying
know
the
what
show
way much.
must go on is to keep the confidence and the calm.
Yes, that's my view.
Okay.
Now, should we
Okay,
draw a
that's a
distinction
thought.
between operations, sorties, and aerobatics? Perhaps. I mean, Tara, of course, has a very strong emotional reason. The American pilot had a very strong
Yes.
emotional reason. But there
Yes.
are all kinds of, shall I say, responses to this. I personally
Yes.
benefited greatly when the next morning I was made to do the sortie. It restored my whole confidence. I was just a youngster there.
But so you were still in the field. No, it was not a show.
But it
That
was
is the
Yeah.
point.
training, not operations, field, but training.
But I take your point.
It
I take
restores
your point.
confidence.
I take your
Now,
point
let me
because
give
the
you,
main,
I give
yeah.
you another example. Along the line of control, people die every day. But that doesn't mean in the evening your volleyball doesn't go on, hockey doesn't go on. Those things go on. The military has to have a very distinct ethos. I'm not saying that, I mean, and for the same death, if there is a death because of negligence, I mean, people pay the price dearly with their careers. So it is a combination of both. Because
Actually, I want to pick up your last point about restoring confidence. It's an important point to Marshal Kapoor, to Dr. Karta, and to Marshal Nanotkar. I'll start with you, Marshal Nanotkar. Your hand went up. General Shukla makes an important point because the naysayers have already begun casting a doubt over Tejas. And we've had to say again and again that in 23 years there was no accident for a single seat fighter jet of this kind. Its record is better than most in the world. The F-35s have had many more crashes. So there is a point to what General Shukla is saying. One of the reasons the show goes on is to keep confidence. How would you respond to that?
Before I come to your question, Barkha,
Yeah.
Raj, the whole reason for distinguishing between a military ethos, that is an operational scenario, and a commercial display for capability commercial capability of production of such a platform, are that is what distinction I wanted to make right in the beginning. Second point is that it's not all that easy to just wrap up the what we want to establish in just 20-25 minutes talk, but we'll do justice to this. One is that we have all gone through this situation, what Raj has just explained in operational scenario. When I was commanding a squadron, we have had a fatal, and as a CO, I had to start flying the very next moment because the fatal should not stop people thinking that, okay, some tragedy has taken place, so this is the end of story. No, my job is to keep operational readiness of the unit going. So I think there is no doubt on that count. Okay, so that is number one. Secondly, what Mrs. Karta had brought out, that these kind of shows are generally done to establish the highest capability of both man and machine. So both are pushing and operating towards the edge of the envelope to display what the machine is capable of fully, as far as it's and when we say these aerobatics being done and all, you're actually displaying what is the capability in terms of that machine's maneuvering. So there is no doubt in that count. And the pilot is fully qualified. That otherwise he wouldn't have been standing where he was standing a few moments back. So all these things put in place, I think what was done there was absolutely in order. What should have been done post accident, I think it's the choice of the organizers. We are just trying to put things very easily in place. It's not all that simple, okay, because there are so many participants, there are so many peoples coming in and wanted to display their own capability and machines, and it's a commercial activity. There is nothing emotional about this whole activity that went on in Dubai. But yes, if I was to take a decision, I was to take a call towards the end of the this happens, I would have stopped the show. Just going back, we have had a similar thing of Surya Kiran accident, if we recall, in Bangalore. Okay, that was right in the starting of the show, and the show went on. So I won't blame X and not blame Y, or I won't take a decisions in isolation on these kind of activities.
Okay,
Military
so
ethos, we all,
yeah.
yeah.
So I think debating it in the context of anything military and military ethos we all agree. I think Himachal Kapoor and Dr. Karta are drawing distinctions between those two contexts. So I want Himachal Kapoor to come in and then Dr. Karta. Himachal Kapoor, you said it should have been called off. You heard what Dhiral Shukla and Himachal Nanotkar said.
No, Barkha, you asked me about LCA. Should I talk about LCA now or later?
No, just hold, sir. We'll just come on to this point in a moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, there is absolutely no difference in what General Raj Shukla and Air Marshal Nanotkar is saying. That operationally, we all have gone into the cockpit the next day when something, or the next moment when something has happened. That is different. Here, global salesmen are seated to sell their product. The human value and life is so short. You are just a commodity. Is that what I was saying? Here, this country has lost its one of the finest pilots, and the very next moment you say the show must go on a commercial platform. I don't subscribe to this, and I think so. Even the Russians paying tribute, the American calling it off, and hushed on social media response from various aviation quarters to say that this is unethical, goes on to show the kind of debate topic which you picked up. I don't think so globally anywhere any anchor would have picked up this topic for discussion, in my appreciation. Anywhere what we are discussing today, it indicates the sensibility has to come in as per the moment. There is absolutely no doubt that it has to go on. The next day the pilots fly, but have that kind of a regard for that country's thought, the pilot, and a tribute, that we just call it off. Maybe we begin next day, or maybe we call it off for that day, or whatsoever. But the next moment the air show continues. So this is more worrisome.
Yeah. General Shukla wants a brief intervention, and then Dr. Karta. Yeah.
I agree with both the air marshals. I know what they are saying, where they're coming from. But see, I just like to re-emphasize this point, that military ethos and leadership cannot be put through any rational filters. How do you justify Shaitan Singh telling his men that you leave, I'll shoot you dead, and if I leave, if I turn my back, you shoot me dead? I mean, which filter? But this is what led to Razangla. 120 people beating back an attack from 1,300 Chinese. This is leadership ethos which cannot be framed in any of these TV debates. And I can tell you, infantry battalions and all, they operate on such kind of ethos. It is extremely when a patrol under fire. When a patrol under fire in some jungle around Baramulla comes under fire and everybody freezes, it is that young second lieutenant. Unless he steps out, nobody will move.
Yeah.
And he steps out, and so he loses his life.
You want to respond? Because you were the most categorical. You said you and Air Marshal Kapoor were the most categorical. This show should have been called off. When you hear General Shukla saying that, look, it's about restoring confidence and don't apply rationality to the military ethos, which is rooted in risk. It is rooted in risk. What would you say?
I generally don't disagree with General Shukla, but this time I am going to, and very strongly. Because this is not about heroism. This was not a war. This was window shopping for a bunch of aircraft dealers. Sorry. In war, nobody will walk away. If a guy is shot down, the other 100 will move on. That is military ethos. This is about a very fantastic pilot who chose, and you saw that last barrel roll he did. How high was he off the ground? That requires immense skill. And it's a sign of respect between pilots when you say, we're not going to fly. Because you know that pilot is 100% trained, fantastic guy. And he took that risk. So there is a question of respect between aviators. And it's a very, very close bond. That is where military ethos comes in. Not when you fight. This is a different set of issues altogether. And like I said, I accept that when you have, and especially us, India is just developing aircraft, you need to take risks. The test pilots who did those long before this aircraft took off, there would have been a bunch of pilots pushing this aircraft to its extreme limits. That also takes courage, and you have to do that. But this is different.
I hear you. I think we've looked at this aspect in a lot of detail with a lot of texture. Let's now look at the overall, the program, the jet. Questions that has been raised again and again is about the pilot ejecting. Inquiry, Air Marshal Nanotkar, I want you to come in on this point. The Tejas, of course, has the 0-0 ejection seat. It is a big hallmark of the jet. We don't know what happened, and we don't want to speculate. But a lot of experts are trying to explain that it's not so simple to say that the pilot should have been ejected. I want your response on this.
Yeah, Barkha, this is a very good question, I would say. I'm not going to hazard a guess in terms of what happened in the cockpit at that moment. But it's a 0-0 seat. Pilot can get out any time that he wishes to from a static aircraft. That is what it means. So why the pilot hasn't got out, we don't know the answer. The inquiry is going to give us the answer. But yes, if he has distinguished that what maneuver he was supposed to do, and it's not in place as far as height and speed and the attitude of the aircraft is concerned, he should have got out. Why he did not get out, we are no one to judge at this moment, and inquiry will bring it out. But looking at the aircraft, he has undergone close to 2G negative 2G maneuver. There are aeromedical aspects to it. I'm sure that there will be a aviation medicine specialist as a part of the inquiry, and he will definitely go into these kind of details. And we all, the aviators, have gone through this. I have experienced -2G. I'm sure the other two aviators, whether it is Army aviator or Air Force aviator, we all have gone through these kind of things. And this particular gentleman whom we lost, he has gone through many times because his profile has been practiced over and over again by him. So I think it's a very difficult question to answer why he did not get out in time. There could be many reasons, and I think we'll have to wait for the Coda inquiry to find out why he did not get out and what was the situation in the cockpit at that point in time. I don't want to hazard a guess at this.
Yeah. Marshal Kapoor, General Shukla, you want to add? Marshal Kapoor, to you first.
See, the reasons could be many. One place I feel, and I was reading somewhere, if he had 100 more feet between him and the ground, he would have survived. Another vertical which is not discussed much is the time of the day. The temperatures are high in the afternoon and deserts. Had it been another time of the day, probably the aircraft response would have been better. Third, we are not aware whether there is a technical fault in the aeroplane. There is no way to say. Either he's got into a G lock by negative G, he's got disoriented, we can't say. Or if there's a technical malfunction in, as a compressor stall or engine malfunction where he's trying to relight the aeroplane, nobody knows. Probably he had, those milliseconds to decide whether to eject or not to eject, whether he was in the process of recovering and relighting, or he just was not in a position to do any of these actions. We don't know. the inquiry will say. But one thing is absolutely sure, that in the past, the aircrafts have impacted on ground, and after impact, the pilots have ejected. A couple of Russian aircrafts I was watching, the pilots have ejected in air display after impact on ground. So I'm sure he would have thought over it. He would have decided when he is going into the ground. And this video, which you are just playing for the benefit of your viewers, this is what I tweeted the other day. What is split second in aviation? And just compare the two videos of Singapore and Dubai. And
We
this
have
is
those. We have them. Yeah.
aviation, the split second decision. So here, this aircraft has come out, and the same time, within a split of a second, that aircraft mushes into the ground. So aviation is a very risky profession, all of us know, and especially the display pilots are selected. They have safety, barriers all across. They would have rehearsed it again and again. There is a controller on ground which is briefing the pilot. There is one fly past control, and if the maneuver is not going through, it has got alternate maneuvers. So if he doesn't have height for that particular one thing, there is a standby SOP to say, okay, you abort and get into all this. Because and a person who is watching has got no idea. It is just the aviators who are knowing that this is a negative G turn. Otherwise, globally, if any person on the tarmac, if you ask him, he doesn't know what is happening. It is just the professionals for whom this is exhibited to show the performance and capability of this platform. And they are the ones who can appreciate. So what has gone wrong, I would not like to.
Yeah, and absolutely. And again, I don't want to encourage any kind of speculation, General Shukla, but everybody, lay people are asking, oh, eject kyun nahi kiya, eject kyun nahi kiya. The last accident, for context, it is important to say, the pilot was the last and first accident involving the Tejas in 2024 over Rajasthan. The pilot was able to eject. The ejection seat is a key feature of the Tejas, and hence this question has come up. Any thoughts on this?
Don't have this kind of expertise. Let me make a larger point. And the point I want to make is this, and I'll just take 2 to 3 minutes. That I've been following this whole air power paradigm after Sindoor. And I wish to make some points in that context. See, air power in our case is existential. It is life and death. Air balance is precarious. If the Pakis get these J-20 stealth and whatever that stuff that is coming HQ-19, it could change dramatically. So if we have respect and gratitude for Wing Commander Namansh Syal and others of his ilk, we need to strengthen the enabling framework around IAF, the enabling framework. And there we are not doing enough. So much of this emotion must convert into concrete action if we are respectful. So let me say what needs to be done, or just some thoughts. It could be debated. As I see it, there are two evolving architectures. One is the Israel one, piloted platforms, a whole lot of wraparound technologies, and you achieve air dominance in 3.5 days. See why I say it is existential. If you don't get this whole piece right, which is not only the platforms, but the enabling wraparound technologies. So system integration. You will be like Russia, Ukraine, 3.5 years. Air superiority will elude you. So I'm saying air dominance, the demand is only growing. And we have many failings in the allied framework. Look at AMCA. We have got the private sector in and all, but it can't be these 10-year endeavors. The British have just carried out a strategic defense review where they have said that even fighter platforms, they are either delivered in 3 years or they are scrapped. And this review has been done by non-service civil servants. They have changed the whole metrics of this, where they are saying that reward and accountability for bureaucracies, enabling bureaucracies will not be based on cost, but on outcomes, lethality, delivery. Accountability has to come into this. You take it from me. We have two experts on the panel. Either the AMCA is delivered in 3-4 years or it's going to be an endless promise. AMCA cannot be delivered by these engineers unless you allow recruitment flexibility. Get engineers of 10 crores. To defeat enemy kill chains today, platforms are important, but you need EW, space, cyber. Countries are investing in exclusive satellites in EW, space, cyber. All these things are not happening in our case. There was a time where Air Force chiefs used to be chairman HAL. Why has that stopped? All these silos. The DGQA is a 3-star. The aviation guy in the quality assurance in the air domain is a wing commander. These enabling things have to be done. We show so much emotion on these occasions and then disappear into all inaction and bureaucracies later. And so we must see what the global metrics are. Today, look at space and cyber. They are becoming so enabling. LEO and GEO are not only just, unique attributes for national security targeting, they are becoming entire business layers. Unless these kind of things happen and we keep focusing on the poor pilot, the pilot needs to be enabled by EW, space, cyber. He cannot have platforms which take 10 years to deliver. All this has to end. HAL is becoming a silo. It needs to get private sector enterprise. We need weekly monitoring of the AMCA project. Ki bhai, kya problem hai? Why can't we say AMCA? And I'm sure the people at the top are doing it. AMCA, there should be no dearth of funding. The next generation engine. These are the things which are hampering our pilots. So I would strongly urge that we look at these allied frameworks. Is it not also time for India to look at things like collaborative aircraft, CCAs, 1 fighter, 4 drones, 1 fighter, 8 drones? Stealth. You cannot operate in this contested envelope without stealth. What is our stealth option? And even if there is no immediate option, when will we ever start investing in the long-term stealth materials? When will India have its own stealth? So if we are really respectful of air power, if we really want to pay homage to these brilliant pilots that we have, how about correcting all this kind of stuff?
I think that's brilliant.
The same thing which is happening for years. So we really need to enable our pilots. And our pilots, as I said, it is the most challenging profession. The loss of life is tragic. Look at the poor father, look at the wife. So I would rather our emotions, are directed in these constructive endeavors. And it's high time we set this whole thing right. So that's my little emotion.
I think that's.
But I just thought I'll, say this today.
No, very passionately said, very brilliantly said. I want reactions to it in closing remarks. Himachal Kapoor, I'll start with you. Let's talk about the LCA program. It's been mired in its own delays. Himachal Kapoor?
Namansh Shukla, I just said, we have to have a whole of a nation approach towards aviation. We did exceptionally well in space, comparatively nuclear missiles, because all these verticals directly come under PMO. It's time now that the aircraft production, especially the design development in this vertical, have some part of funding and other things directly controlled from the main office, where it is reviewed at regular basis. Second, the private sector, like they opened up for AMCA, to say that 50% will be HAL, rest not more than 12.5% can be put in by the private sector. Now we can't bind because it requires a huge sum of money. What we have been able to do in the last few years, manufacture fuselages for Rafales, manufacture some doors for Airbus, manufacture, but the key technology, be it radars, be it ejection seats, be it composites, be it other materials, is nowhere nearby. The indigenization part which we claim that we have does not have niche verticals covered under that. So we'll have to have a approach wherein we encourage people, those days with college with iPads, to be mingling with the serving people to understand and bringing that kind of
I should say before I give General Marshal Nanotkar the last word, that this is the subject of General Shukla's excellent book on civil military fusion, that you need all of these sort of parts of our nation to come together. General Shukla, you prophesied this. You had a quick interjection before I give the last word.
2 points. Quick point, because I want Marshal Nanotkar to comment on this. Look at this here. Look at the common sense. Aviation is a 10, 15, 20-year endeavor. The chairman HAL is appointed at 58. The day he's appointed, he knows that he'll be out by 60. How will aviation grow? How will aviation grow? 2 years tenure. I will pronounce what AMCA will be 15 years ahead, knowing very well that my grandfather will implement it. I will not. And we just have to set this common sense right. We have to get this regulation innovation piece right. Barkha, just let me one example. I'll give.
Your book, the book that we recommend highly is on our screen. Yes.
Thank you. So the
Yes.
I've been talking of this DET 201 induction in these CTOs, chief technical officers of some of the brightest startups being inducted into the American military. And they just picked up one part, the fin of the external fuel tank of the Black Hawk, and was surprised it was being costed at $144,000. Now, because they had the technological gravitas, they said, इस part में कुछ नहीं है. Reverse engineer किया, 3D print किया और validate कर दिया कि जो हमारा part है will survive all kinds of resilience and pressures. And what was it costed at? $3,000. Now look at that. The regulators are also being asked to innovate. In our case, now no reflection on the particular man, but look at the system. DGQA is a 3-star appointment. All he has to do is put 3 objections on files. Regulate. He should be asked to innovate. उसका जवाब क्या है? यहाँ सब फाइल पे objection, objection, objection. Now, he is not doing it deliberately. That is the system we have grown. So this whole regulation enterprise has to give way to innovation enterprise. In the AMCA thing, if you include what Air Marshal Kapoor is saying, these young technology geeks, you allow freedom to like Mr. Kalyani. We will deliver. One last point. This British Strategic Defense Review that I was talking of, what conclusion they have reached? They have said the military-industrial complex can only be fixed by a private sector guy. Government has failed. And they have appointed a director armament to fix the military-industrial complex. In our case, if I may draw an analogy, it's like appointing Mr. Kalyani to fix the military-industrial complex. I mean, should we take such bold steps because the past has not worked? So I just want to end, with that Urdu couplet ki उम्र भर गालिब वही भूल करता गया, दाग चेहरे पे था, आईना साफ करता गया. We have to do something different now. In aviation and allied pursuits, they are very challenging things.
Yes,
Doing the same stuff all over again is not going to happen. And that will be our biggest tribute to Wing Commander Syal.
Well said, well said. Marshal Nanotkar, your closing comment to you with your comments on the LCA, the delays, Air Marshal Kapoor, General Shukla, both saying if you really want to pay a meaningful tribute to Wing Commander Syal, change how you're doing this. Be bold, be imaginative.
Barkha, we started off with emotions of a lady paying tribute to her husband. But I think even deeper emotions I could see coming from Raj about for the country as a whole. And, that is what we have all gone through. About 10 years back, I had commented on this, saying that just to say that, we are, doing what we should do and we are marching ahead, fast and bold does not produce the outcome that we want to. I have not read the book, but I'll read the book because I'm sure that many of the ingredients that you have brought out are worth going through for future. But a couple of words that I would just put it across. The debate started with something else, but we have now reached a point where actual reality is dawned as far as this little program of yours is concerned. That why this accident has taken place is something for somebody to come out with. But what are the shortcomings through these programs? Are we even talking about it in real terms? Answer is no. Okay, there are many things. I will just, let's leave Tejas and all outside. We are today struggling to get 404 and 414. What are we even talking about? 35 years of Kaveri, and we are saying, okay, because we have done so much, now let's put it up, put that engine on Ghatak, and we say that, okay, our people have done best. You know what plagued Kaveri program all through and through? The decision making. And even today, the decision that we are taking is not correct, to my mind. I'm not sure whether people will agree with me, is because even simple thing like single crystal blade technology was brought into this country about 10 years back, but we have not cashed on that because it was brought in by private sector. And even today we are not producing a single blade from those manufacturers. What are we even talking about? Is that the way to progress? Is that the way to hold hand? Is that the way to write policies on these things? So therefore, it should be an eye-opener what comes out of this Tejas accident as to how historically we have taken wrong decisions to give whatever we have to, give it to the uniform people to fight the war in real terms. And all these emergency purchases, all these, changing of books of procurement has got no meaning if we don't have a holistic approach to what we want to fight the next war with, or what we want to display in the next show at Dubai or France or wherever. Okay, I mean, that is all. LCA is just a small a piece that we are showcasing. It has got tremendous advantage that it has given the whole program, because there are a lot of technologies that are now under our belt, but how do we utilize for future is what is important. AMCA, even if you give it to private sector, I can challenge you that it is not going to come up in next 10 years. Okay, as far as operationalization of AMCA is concerned, it's not 2 to 3 years job to produce an aircraft of AMCA class. See the nations which are way ahead of us in these kind of programs. They have done years and years of research, and government has held hands of the entire, the environment that produces these kind of products. So it's not a 1 year job or 3 year job to get to what we want. Ask Raj, what kind of tanks are we fighting today with, and what kind of tanks are going to be on the cards for tomorrow's fighting? We are way behind time and way behind thought process. No matter how much pomp and show we get into in terms of Atmanirbharta, if you want, same panel can get on with you and we can debate this for at least 1 hour, and we will pinpoint as to what is required to be done to get to where we want to get. And LC is just a small piece of equipment that we are talking about.
Very provocatively and passionately said, and both our guests want to respond to it. General Shukla, and then last word to Marshal Kapoor. Then General Shukla, yeah.
So I just want to make 2 points. One is, you see, we have to sustain with LC and all. We need indigenous platform, but they have to be extremely ultra modern. And see how the game is shifting. Just look at this. This is from an American study of their own military industrial complex. The AI that Tesla has is better than the most advanced American fighter aircraft. This is the reality. The computer vision that Snapchat has, social media app, is better than the most advanced sensor in the American military. The autonomy that Rhombus has, again social media, is better than the best platforms in the American military. So they are moving away from government, not to primes, but to startups. And the argument of startups like Palmer Luckey is that these platforms, if they are not delivered in 5 years, they will not be delivered in 15. Now we have to see. I would also just strongly recommend, Barkha, if you find the time, do a podcast with Air Chief Marshal Vivek Ram Chaudhary, who just retired. I had an engaging conversation with him on air.
Yeah.
And he pointed to these issues, many of these. And I realized that just the pilot and the platform is handicapped unless all this stuff happens. And one last point I will keep making. No military has ever reformed internally. It has been pushed by debates moved by civilians. So civilians have to develop expertise in that. That puts all kind of pressure. And once that happens, perhaps AMCA will be delivered in 6 years, or Marshal Nandotkar will win the debate.
All right, Marshal Kapoor, quick closing word. Can we unmute Marshal Kapoor? Hanji, sir.
In civil aviation also, we are buying 1,000 aeroplanes in next 10 years, Indian government. It is mixed, mostly Airbus and Boeings. Had there been any professional in civil aviation ministry, be it aviation secretary, DGCA, chairman AI, ICAO chief, they're all bureaucrats. The MRO and the hub facility for maintaining and servicing these aeroplanes would have come to India if a country is buying 1,000 such platforms. It has come to China, it has come to Southeast Asia, but in our country there is absolutely no idea. Unless we get professionals into the aviation vertical, both in military, like General Shukla was saying, heading HAL and other verticals, and research and development, some embedded people, and also in civil aviation, we could do a show especially what Mars civil aviation, how thousands and thousands of trained Air Force and military personnel are wasted, aviation personnel are wasted on the streets because there is no mechanism to harness their expertise. So this is another point I just wanted to make.
Okay, Marshal Nandotkar, this really has to be the closing word. I'll give it to you, sir.
The biggest tribute to Syal would be if we really seriously think about how do we want to indigenize, how do we want to, see the next platform or the present platform to convert into what Raj is the holistic approach that he was talking about. And I'm sure that, that would be the real tribute to him. That's it.
Absolutely. I think we can end on that note. The bottom line is that beyond, the debates around whether the Dubai air show should have gone on, the court of inquiry will ascertain the cause of the crash. But if we really want to tribute Wing Commander Syal and others who risk their lives every day for the country, then we actually have to indigenize, modernize, get rid of the red tape, bring civil and military together. And General Shukla still has his hand up. General Shukla?
I just recalled, Barkha, I just recalled, look at the father of Wing Commander Syal. What trust he placed.
Yeah.
He said, वो inquiry बताएगी. देश के लिए लोग आना चाहिए. Do we not need to uphold that trust?
Absolutely.
He doesn't question. He's lost his son. He's not questioning everybody. How can we let down people like him?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that is the bottom line. Absolutely. And salutes to that extraordinary father and to the men and women who risk their lives every day. The meaningful tribute, I think our experts have pointed out, would be defense reform, defense capacity, capability, modernization, indigenization, and cut the red tape and think boldly, think as boldly as our fighter pilots fly. We leave it there. Thank you so much, General Shukla, M. Ashok Kapoor, M. Ashok Nanotkar, earlier to Dr. Karta. Always learn so much from all of you. Take care. God bless. Thank you. Jai Hind. And see you all soon. It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.